Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. It is April 3rd, and I'm a couple days late, bringing you my pile of possibilities for quarter two of Historathon 2024. But I picked out a pretty big stack for you guys. I'm going to try to read at least one of them, but I know that you guys sometimes like to see and get some ideas for your own reading. So a lot of these books will range all around the medieval era. We're going from 500 to 1500 AD. So yeah, I picked up a bunch. Here's one part of the stack. It is very, very heavy. Okay. So get your notebook handy. Yeah, because I got quite a lot to go through. Yeah, so April 3rd. Not as late as I thought I would be getting this video up. So yay! Wonder how everyone's doing with their Historathon 2024 readings. I still need to make my review video of quarter one. I've finished one of my books, and I haven't finished the second one, but I can at least give you some thoughts on the first book that I read. The Killing Ground, which was about the landscape, the battleground of Thermopylae, which was fantastic. All right, so we're going to dive into Peg's pile of possibilities for the years 500 to 1500. Yeah, and it's a gorgeous day here. It's hard for me to be inside right now. It's 70 degrees here and sunny. I think Martine and I are going to take a walk later after dinner. It is so gorgeous out. All right, so this first book, I've seen everyone reference this book over the last 2 years on BookTube, and I had my copy, but since then, they have released a revised and expanded edition, so I feel like this copy is kind of a moot point at this stage, because I want the revised and updated version of this book, which I guess has really just was very popular. And it is 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed, by Eric H. Klein. This is put out by Princeton, and I could have sworn that I had picked up the new and revised one in the last sale that they had, but I can't seem to find it, so I don't think I did. But anyway, I've been meaning to read this, and this is a great prompt for me to do so, it being quarter two of Historathon 2024. Yeah, this one, before the revision or the expanded edition came out, this came in at like 240 pages. So I'm wondering how much bigger the new version is. In 1177 BC, marauding groups known only as the Sea Peoples invaded Egypt. The pharaoh's army and navy defeated them, but the victory so weakened Egypt that it soon slid into decline, as did most of the surrounding civilizations. Excuse me. After centuries of brilliance, the civilized world of the Bronze Age came to an abrupt and cataclysmic end. Kingdoms fell like dominoes over the course of just a few decades. No more Minoans or Mycenaeans, no more Trojans, Hittites, or Babylonians. The thriving economy and cultures of the late second millennium BC suddenly ceased to exist. How did it happen? Eric Klein tells the gripping story of how the end was brought about by a series of connected calamities, ranging from invasion and revolt to the cutting of international trade routes. He draws a sweeping panorama of the empires and peoples of the late Bronze Age and shows that it was their very interdependence that hastened dramatic collapse. So that's on my list of my pile of possibilities. It's ranking up there. Again, I might try to see if I can pick up the revised and expanded version, though. All right. Ooh, sorry about that. Hopefully you weren't wearing headphones when I did that. Let me just wet my whistle. All right. Oh, by the way, new chair. We're getting there. We haven't assembled the desk yet, but this is my new chair. I'm very pleased with it. It's got a headrest, which my other chair did not, and it leans back so elegantly and easily. And yeah, how's them apples, huh? I'm leaning back like Tony Montana. The world is yours. All I need is my cigar and a line of cocaine, I guess. Just kidding. I don't do that. Yes, Al Pacino, Scarface. It's a cult classic. I'm a big fan. Don't ask me why. I have no way to parse that. The next book, I'm going to go back and forth. Now, some of these are really big books, so there's no way I'm going to get to them, but they're on my list of things I want to get to. But I just thought you might like to, who doesn't like to look at everyone's books? The books that we own and we intend to read and could give you ideas. You might want to run out and pick yourself up a copy. This is also from Princeton University Press, one of my favorites. It's a very big biography. Came out a couple years ago. A few years ago actually, 2019. Wow. That's right. I remember it was pretty new when I had first started my channel, within a year of me starting my channel in 2017. I can't believe I've been on BookTube since September of 2017. Wow, it's going on 7 years this fall, guys. That's crazy. It is Chaucer, A European Life by Marion Turner. As you can see, it's a hefty piece, hefty read. Geoffrey Chaucer is often called the father of English literature, but this acclaimed biography reveals him as a great European writer and thinker, uncovering important new information about Chaucer's travels, private life, and the circulation of his writings. Marion Turner reconstructs in unprecedented detail the cosmopolitan... Someone is honking their horn over and over outside. Okay? Wow. Hopefully you can't hear that. The cosmopolitan world of Chaucer's adventurous life, focusing on the places and spaces that fired his imagination. From the wharves of London to the frescoed chapels of Florence, the book recounts Chaucer's experiences as a prisoner of war in France, as a father visiting his daughter's nunnery, as a member of a chaotic parliament, and as a diplomat in Milan. At the same time, the book offers a comprehensive exploration of Chaucer's writings. The result is a landmark biography and a fresh account of the extraordinary story of how a wine merchant's son became the poet of the Canterbury Tales. So, this is, not counting the bibliography, you're looking at a 500-page read. So you're going to be really engrossed in that one. Okay, another big, thick book, and I keep meaning to read, and I haven't yet, and I know it's a classic. If anything, I could at least start it. I won't finish it by the end of the quarter, but I just love this woman's writing. She's a fantastic historian, and that is Barbara Tuchman. And you can't go wrong with A Distant Mirror, The Calamitous 14th Century. This is the Random House edition that came out in 2014, the trade paperback. And it's a biggie. It's over 600 pages of reading here. The 14th century reflects two contradictory images. On the one hand, a glittering age of crusades, cathedrals, and chivalry. On the other, a world plunged into chaos and spiritual agony. In this revelatory work, Barbara Tuchman examines not only the great rhythms of history, but the grain and texture of domestic life. What childhood was like, what marriage meant, how money, taxes, and war dominated the lives of serf, noble, and clergy alike. Granting her subjects their loyalties, treacheries, and guilty passions, Tuchman recreates the lives of proud cardinals, university scholars, grocers and clerks, saints and mystics, lawyers and mercenaries, and dominating all, the knight and all his valor and furious follies. A terrible worm and an iron cocoon. And that's her own phraseology there. It's really beautiful. Lots of illustrations throughout and artwork. So I think I just set the dogs off to barking. They forgot that I was in here. So yeah, I would like to at least start this book, and I can dip into it when I need to. Um, or when I have time to, I should say. Um, all right, then we're going to go to like a big, juicy biography of a very well-known historian and biographer. I almost picked up his other book for this Q2, his big dual biography on Richard and John. But this is Frank McLynn, and this is his big busty biography of Genghis Khan, his conquests, his empire, his legacy, from Da Capo Press. Another big book. These are a lot, well over 600 pages. But yeah, this is supposed to be the new and definitive biography of Genghis Khan. Mongol leader Genghis Khan was by far the greatest conqueror the world has ever known. His empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Central Europe, including all of China, the Middle East, and Russia. So how did an illiterate nomad rise to such colossal power and subdue most of the known world, eclipsing Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and Napoleon? Credited by some with paving the way for the Renaissance, condemned by others for being the most heinous murderer in history, who was he? His actual name was Temujin, and the story of his success is that of the Mongol people, a loose collection of fractious tribes who tended livestock, considered bathing taboo, oh boy, and possessed an unparalleled genius for horseback warfare. United under Genghis, a strategist of astonishing cunning and versatility, they could dominate any sedentary society they chose. Combining fast-paced accounts of battles with rich cultural background and the latest scholarship, Frank McLynn brings vividly to life the strange world of the Mongols, describes Temujin's rise from boyhood outcast to becoming Genghis Khan, and provides the most accurate and absorbing account yet of one of the most powerful men ever to have lived. And I am really interested in this one because, as well, I feel like it will prompt me and probably, pique my curiosity to finally get around to reading some historical fiction. There was a series written by Kana Golden about Genghis Khan, and I like to do both. I like to read the history of a person or a military leader, and then the historical fiction. It doesn't have to be in that order. I could start with historical fiction and then move into history. But I think this paired with the Kana Golden series, I'm trying to think, it's called like the Golden, I can't remember. It's not the Golden Horde. I don't think so, but I think many of you who are fans of Kana Golden, you will know what I'm talking about. I have the first paperback in that series, but I have not gotten into it yet, so I think this might kind of jumpstart me into that. Okay, we're going to come to that later. We're going to do... Oh, okay, since we're on the topic, I picked up this other... So I got actually two books here about Genghis Khan. This one is from Helion and Company, and I think more of a detailed military study. It's got a lot of like the maps of the campaigns that Genghis Khan undertook, the Mongols did. So anyway, this is the Mongol Conquests, the Military Operations of Genghis Khan and Sube Ete by Carl Frederick Sverdrup. Pretty sure this is one of the books I got from Casemate. So what do we have here? Okay, so without, repeating anything too much about Genghis Khan, let's see. And of course, in Sube Ete, who was his successor, I believe so. Yes. Okay, after Genghis Khan had subjugated all tribes of Inner Asia, he struck southward into China and later attacked distant Khwarezm in the Near East. Subay-ete continued to make significant conquests after Genghis died, conquering central China and leading a large force into the heart of Europe. Between them, Genghis Khan and Subay-ete directed more than 40 campaigns, fought more than 60 battles, and conquered all lands from Korea in the east to Hungary and Poland in the west. So this book offers a detailed narrative of the military operations of these two leaders based on early Mongolian, Chinese, Near Eastern, and European sources. I guess what makes this book stand out, it says, making full use of Chinese sources not translated properly into any European language, the account offers details never before given in English works. Detailed maps support the text. Many conventional wisdom views of the Mongols, such as their use of terror as a deliberate strategy or their excellence at siege warfare, are shown to be incorrect. This is a major contribution to our knowledge of the Mongols and their way of warfare. So I would pair this up with Genghis Khan as well as the historical fiction of Khan of Golden. Yeah, let me just take another sip. Let's go. Here's a book by an author. I've read a couple of his books. I love his, he's a great historian, he's a great writer, and he always really engages my interest when I'm reading works by him. This is an older book by Paul Strathern. It came out, I think his most recent book was on the Florentines, I believe, and I have a copy of that. But this came out in 2009, and I've been meaning to read it. It's right on the tip. It's kind of breaking the rules a little bit because it's set in 1502-ish. So it's kind of a little bit over, but I thought it was close enough. So we're going to go with it. It is the artist, the philosopher, and the warrior. The intersecting lives of Da Vinci, Machiavelli, and Borgia, and the world they shaped. And I've got a nice, it's getting to be like a bit of a yellowed copy, but I've got some nice deckled edges there. And yeah, it says the Renaissance was a child of many fathers, none more important than the three iconic figures whose intersecting lives provide the basis for this astonishing work of narrative history. Leonardo da Vinci, Niccolo Machiavelli, and Caesar Borgia. They could not have been more different, and they would meet only for a short time in 1502. But the events that transpired when they did would significantly alter each man's perceptions and the course of Western history. In 1502, Italy was riven by conflict, with the city of Florence as the ultimate prize. Machiavelli, the consummate political manipulator, attempted to placate the savage Borgia by volunteering Leonardo to be Borgia's chief military engineer. That autumn, the three men embarked together on a brief, perilous, and fateful journey through the mountains, remote villages, and hill towns of the Italian Romagna, the details of which were revealed in Machiavelli's frequent dispatches and Leonardo's meticulous notebooks. In a book that is at once a gripping adventure story and a trenchant analysis of how history is made, the artist, the philosopher, and the warrior limns, well, that's a great word, limns, L-I-M-N-S, limns its protagonists' personalities, their interactions, and the forces that shape their world. Superbly written, of course meticulously researched. It's a work of narrative genius, whose subject is the nature of genius itself. And I trust that it is a work of genius. I enjoy Paul Strathern's books, so I know this one will be a winner as well. Maybe you will find it too to be as well. It's a Bantam book. If you're interested, I keep hitting the microphone. Let's see here. Okay, we're going to go this way. Another great biographer, historian. I have a couple of his books. This is John Mann, and this was his fairly recent book. Fairly recent, it was 2016, but his book on Saladin. Saladin, the Sultan who vanquished the Crusaders and built an Islamic empire, by John Mann. Look at all the reflections on the lights. It's crazy. This is by another book by Da Capo Press. Um, yeah, it looks like to be more of a breezy read. The text is not very, it's fairly large, and you've got nice big wide alleys on the side. So it's not dense like some of these other books I've just picked up. This could be a fairly quick read. So that's a possibility for Peg. Along with, I'm pretty sure I'm leaning towards 1177 though, but I might try to squeeze in a second one. Saladin remains one of the most iconic figures of his age. As the man who united the Arabs and saved Islam from Christian crusaders in the 12th century, he is the Islamic world's preeminent hero. A ruthless defender of his faith and a brilliant leader, he also possessed qualities that won admiration from his Christian foes. But Saladin is far more than a historical hero. Builder, literary patron, and theologian, he is a man for all times and a symbol of hope for an Arab world once again divided. Centuries after his death, in cities from Damascus to Cairo and beyond, to the Arabian Peninsula and the Gulf, Saladin continues to be an immensely potent symbol of religious and military resistance to the West. He is central to Arab memories, sensibilities, and the ideal of a unified Islamic state. John Mann charts Saladin's rise to power, his struggle to unify the warring factions of his faith, and his battles to retake Jerusalem and expel Christian influence from Arab lands. And it also examines his significance for the world today. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure I got a little mix of it. Not like just, I'm not trying to focus all on European history. I'm trying to get a little mixture of here, just to keep your interests piqued. So we have Saladin by John Mann. Now we're going to go, you know what? Let me save that for last. We're going to go next. I'm going to throw you a really interesting book. This is a really interesting one. It's one of several that this historian has written. I have almost all of them. This one was kind of separated from the others, but this guy is the professor of history at the University of California at Santa Barbara. And he has basically, he took it on for himself, the project of writing about all the different manifestations of Satan or the devil throughout history. And I want to read them, and I want to kind of read them in order. But this is one that fits for the quarter that we're looking at, quarter 2. So this is Jeffrey Burton Russell's Lucifer, the Devil in the Middle Ages. So they're put out by Cornell Paperbacks. Oh, sorry. I'm looking right at the word Cornell Paperbacks. So it's Cornell University Press. This is where you can find all of these books if you're having problems finding them, or if you're looking to, if Cornell Press has a sale going on. I went and looked up the other ones that I was missing, and I just keep meaning to do a separate video just on the stack of Jeffrey Burton Russell's works. I also have his book on heaven, which he said he needed to write for his own sanity because he had been so steeped in just researching, such an awful subject throughout history. But some of his other works are Witchcraft in the Middle Ages, which I do have that one. I just happened to find this one easier. The other one is The Devil, Perceptions of Evil from Antiquity to Primitive Christianity. The other one is Satan, the Early Christian Tradition, and Mephistopheles, the Devil in the Modern World. And they're all published by Cornell University Press. This one is, I was able to find this one used. Well, good, you can't see it. It's got a little bit of like yellow, I don't say water damage, but it's an older book for sure. Richly illustrated throughout, footnotes. So this could be interesting. Let's see here. I'll read a little bit from the preface just to give you a little background on this writer in the series. It says, this third volume in the history of the concept of the devil follows The Devil, which was published in 1977, and Satan, published in 1981. And I think I have those too. So this is the third volume. And then he kind of talks about the present volume describes ideas about the devil that were prevalent in the Middle Ages. It includes Eastern Orthodox and Islamic views, but emphasizes Western Christian thought, which gives the devil most due. Because I do not know the languages requisite to a study of Islam in detail, I offer only a brief comparative description of its view of the devil. The primary components of Christian diabology in the medieval period are patristic, scholastic, and mystical theology, art, literature, and drama, popular religion, homiletics, and saints' lives, and folklore. Fascinating stuff. And I jump ahead to the last paragraph of his preface. He says, in all three volumes, I speak as a human being as well as an historian. It would be presumptuous and futile to deal with so fundamental a problem as evil without confronting it personally. If we take ideas seriously, we must encounter them with our whole personalities. The function of history and of all learning, humanistic and scientific, is to look beyond our safe little studies and laboratories out into the cosmos, or into the soul, with love, but always with love, which is the burning dart that we shoot forth into the world's darkness, hoping to illuminate, if only dimly and for a moment, the green and shining landscape that stretches upward around us. And then he says, many faults must appear in these pages, as in the previous two volumes, and inconsistencies among the three. I would be a poor historian and a poorer person not to understand more at the end of the third volume than at the beginning of the first. So I love his very honest kind of his approach, and it's very poetic. You know, flaming dart of love. I love that. A burning dart that we shoot forth into the world's darkness. So I bring that up just to say that this might fit into that the Q2 of Historathon 2024. But also I've been meaning to tell you about this really just interesting set of books that Jeffrey Burton Russell has dedicated most of his life to researching and writing about. So maybe you'll find them of interest and give them a look. Now, to balance out that, let's talk about a beautiful life of faith. This is another Cornell University Press title. It's biography, and I'd like to get into this as well. It's Bernard of Clairvaux, An Inner Life by Brian Patrick McGuire. It's a beautiful cover. In this intimate portrait of one of the Middle Age's most consequential men, Brian Patrick McGuire delves into the life of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux to offer a refreshing interpretation that finds within this grand historical figure a deeply spiritual human being who longed for the reflective quietude of the monastery, even as he helped shape the destiny of a church and a continent. Heresy and crusade, politics and papacies, theology and disputation shaped this astonishing man's life, and McGuire presents it all in a deeply informed and clear-eyed biography. Following Bernard from his birth in 1090 to his death in 1153 at the abbey he had founded 4 decades earlier, this book reveals a life teeming with momentous events and spiritual contemplation from Bernard's, is it Bernard or Bernard? Take your pick. From Bernard's central roles in the first great medieval reformation of the Church and the Second Crusade, which he came to regret, to the crafting of his books, sermons, and letters. We see what brought Bernard to monastic life and how he founded Clairvaux Abbey, established a network of Cistercian monasteries across Europe, and he helped his brethren monks in abbots and heresy trials, affairs of state, and the papal schism of the 1130s. By re-evaluating Bernard's life and legacy through his own words and those of the people closest to him, McGuire reveals how this often challenging saint saw himself and conveyed his convictions to others. Above all, this fascinating biography depicts Saint Bernard of Clairvaux as a man guided by Christian revelation and open to the achievements of the human spirit. That is lovely. About 300-page read. But it is right smack dab in the center of our Historathon 2024 Q2 timeframe. So I thought this would be a really good option as well. All right, then we're going to jump over to this. This is an interesting title. This is from Pen and Sword History imprint. And it's probably the shortest read here. It's a little over 200 pages. This is King John, Henry III, and England's Lost Civil War by John Paul Davis. I really love this cover. It's really beautifully designed. The colors are so rich. There's the nice cover on the back with the seal. I think that's the seal. I might have to check this guy out. I just kind of looked at what the author has written. He's an international best-selling author of 11 thriller novels and 4 works of historical nonfiction. But his debut thriller is about the Templars, so I'm kind of intrigued. It's The Templar Agenda, which was a UK top 20 bestseller. Oh, he also has a trilogy, the Cortez trilogy. Well, I might have to look into this. But anyway, let's take a look at what this book is about. In 1204, the great Angevin Empire, or Angevin Empire, created by the joining of the dynasties of Henry II of England and his queen Eleanor of Aquitaine, was fragmenting. At its height, the family land holdings had been among the largest the world had ever seen. From the border of England and Scotland in the north to the south of the Pyrenees, it seemed there was nowhere in Europe destined to escape Plantagenet control. Yet within 5 years of his accession, King John's grip on the family holdings was loosening. Betrayal against his father and brother, the murder of his nephew, and breaking promises made to his supporters were just some of the accusations leveled against him. When Philip II conquered Normandy, the chroniclers believed that an ancient prophecy was fulfilled, that in this year the sword would be separated from the scepter. For the first time since 1066, England's rule over the ancestral land was over. For John, troubles on the continent were just the beginning of a series of challenges that would ultimately define his reign. Difficult relations with the papacy and clergy, coupled with rising dissent among his barons, ensured conflict would not be limited to the continent. When John died in 1216, more than half of the country was in the hands of the Dauphin of France. Never had the future of the Plantagenet dynasty looked more uncertain. As the following pages will show, throughout the first 18 years of the reign of Henry III, the future direction of England as a political state, the identity of the ruling family, and the fate of Henry II's lost empire were still matters that could have gone either way. For the advisors of the young king, led by the influential regent William Marshal, first Earl of Pembroke, the effects of John's reign would be long and severe. Successful implementation of the failed Magna Carta may have ensured his son's short-term survival, yet living up to such promises created arguably a more significant challenge. This is the story of how the varying actions of 2 very different kings both threatened and created the English way of life and ultimately put England on the path to its lost civil war. So that is a period I am not super steeped in. So this 200-page kind of, this is a bit of a keyhole history, just focusing on those 2 and their actions. So I might take a look at this one as well. King John, Henry III, and England's Lost Civil War, by Pen and Sword History. Okay, and moving away from the heavy hardcovers for a moment, I've got 3 more books, but that's a pretty big stack, a pretty big pile of possibilities, pop, as we call it. This book is put out by Westholme Publishing. We're going to take it a little bit further back to the beginnings of this time frame for Q2. which is 500 and forward to 1500. This one's going to be looking at the early 6th century. So this is some great stuff. A war I am not really familiar with. So again, an opportunity for me to broaden my historical knowledge. And this is the Gothic War, Justinian's Campaign to Reclaim Italy, by Torsten Cumberland Jacobson. Wow, make up your mind. Which is your first name, which is your last? Torsten, Cumberland, or Jacobson? Take your pick. No, that's his name. Sorry, I'm just being silly. Oh yeah, I got another book by him. That's right. He wrote A History of the Vandals as well. So now we're looking at the Gothic War. Put Westholm Publishing. It says Belisarius and the 6th century conflict that changed the history of Europe. A period of stability in the early 6th century AD gave the Eastern Roman Emperor Justinian an opportunity to recapture parts of the Western Empire which had been lost to invading barbarians in the preceding centuries. The climactic conflict over Italy between 535 and 554, the Gothic War, decided the political future of Europe, holding in its balance the possibility that the Roman Empire might rise again. I find that a lot of books about these eras everyone kind of uses that same catchphrase that's kind of cliched at this point. Decided the political future of Europe, decided the framework of Western civilization. You know what I mean? They all kind of claim that mantle. It's so funny. Okay. While large portions of the original territory of the ancient Roman Empire were recaptured, the Eastern Empire was incapable of retaining much of its hard-won advances, and soon the empire once again retracted. As a result of the Gothic War, Italy was invaded by the Lombards, who began their important kingdom. Their important kingdom. The Franks began transforming Gaul into France, and without any major force remaining in North Africa, that territory was quickly overrun by the first wave of Muslim expansion in the ensuing century. Written as a general overview of this critical period, the Gothic War opens with a history of the conflict with Persia and the great Roman general Belisarius' successful conquest of the Vandals in North Africa. After an account of the Ostrogothic tribe and their history, the campaigns of the Long War for Italy are described in detail, including the 3 sieges of Rome, which turned the great city from a bustling metropolis into a desolate ruin. Yeah, I don't know much about that for this period. In addition to Belisarius, the Gothic War featured many of history's most colorful antagonists, including Rome's Narcissus the Eunuch, never heard of him, and the Goths' ruthless and brilliant tactician, Totila. 2 appendices provide information about the armies of the Romans and Ostrogoths, including their organization, weapons, and tactics, all of which changed over the course of the war. Again, nice big font, so it's not like a dense kind of like your eyes are glazing over kind of, history. So this looks really good too. I got so many good books on my shelves, guys. Okay. I was going to make a joke about if I didn't need to sleep, I could just read all the time and get my library finished. I guess that's the only benefit to being a vampire, right? From what we hear, they don't sleep. So you could just read and read and read. And I guess, yeah, and you're not supposed to, die. But I like being human, and I like sleeping when I can. But yeah, so I've got a lot of great options here. I hope you're finding some great suggestions here as well. Maybe you're finding something that's calling your name, as it were. And then this book's going to take us to the 13th century, so the 1200s. And this is a beautiful hardcover edition I picked up from University of Pennsylvania Press. Again, I love my university presses, right? Some great histories here. Now, this one's going to be more academic. Still doesn't look too bad. This is The Two Powers, the Papacy, the Empire, and the Struggle for Sovereignty in the 13th Century by Brett Edward Whalen. It's about that size, right? This came out probably 2019. All right, historians commonly designate the High Middle Ages as the era of the papal monarchy, when the popes of Rome vied with secular rulers for spiritual and temporal supremacy. Indeed, in many ways, the story of the papal monarchy encapsulates that of medieval Europe as often remembered, a time before the modern age when religious authorities openly clashed with emperors, kings, and princes for political mastery of their world, claiming sovereignty over Christendom, the universal community of Christian kingdoms, churches, and peoples. At no point was this conflict more widespread and dramatic than during the papacies of Gregory IX and Innocent IV. Their struggles with the Hohenstaufen Emperor Frederick II. This is leading into my final book, actually. So these two books, these last two books are really going to be closely connected. Their struggles with the Hohenstaufen Emperor Frederick II echoed in the corridors of power and the court of public opinion, ranging from the battlefields of Italy to the streets of Jerusalem. In The Two Powers, Brett Edward Whalen has written a new history of this combative relationship between the 13th century papacy and empire, countering the dominant trend of modern historiography, which focuses on Frederick instead of the popes. He redirects our attention to the papal side of the historical equation. Again, this is going to be a really good balancing book to the one I'm about to show you. By doing so, Whalen highlights the ways in which Gregory and Innocent acted politically and publicly, realizing their priestly sovereignty through the networks of communication, performance, and documentary culture that lay at the unique disposal of the Apostolic See. Covering pivotal decades that included the last major crusades, the birth of the Inquisition, and the unexpected invasion of the Mongols, taking it back, right? The Two Powers shows how Gregory and Innocent's battles with Frederick shaped the historical destiny. Here we go again. Shaping the historical destiny of the 13th century papacy and its role in the public realm of medieval Christendom. Fantastic. So, The Two Powers. Now, this book has been on my shelf, and I will read something. I'll be doing a book review or something related to this era, and I'm like, I have a book about this. It's a fantastic, it's been highly, touted as just a brilliant book. It's put out by the Northern Illinois University Press. And this book came out, I keep meaning, I really want to get on top of this book. Not literally, but I want to start reading it. This came out in 2011. Here it is, the final book in my pile of possibilities for Q2. The Emperor and the Saint. And there he is again, right? Frederick II of Hohenstaufen, Francis of Assisi, and Journeys to Medieval Places by Richard F. Cassidy, with a foreword by the august and recently passed John Julius Norwich. It's got this edition from Northern Illinois University Press. I can't remember how I picked it up, but it's a beautiful book. It's just going to, it lays flat. It's just going to be a gorgeous read. I love these kind of books. As you can see, there's not a lot of white space in the alleys on the margins. So this is like, they it's dense, more dense than some of these others, but it looks so good. Okay, so let me tell you about this, the angle on this one. The Emperor and the Saint is a vivid place-by-place telling of the life and times of the most enlightened, creative, and dynamic ruler of medieval Europe, Frederick II of Hohenstaufen. St. Francis, who shared with Frederick a love of the natural world and was baptized in the same cathedral in Assisi, is a parallel and contrasting presence. Cassidy enthusiastically guides the reader through the history and legends, pausing to describe the architecture of a cathedral, to marvel at the atmosphere of a town, to recommend the best place for a quiet picnic of local fare. A man of insatiable curiosity, Frederick spent hours developing his knowledge of science and religion, art and philosophy. He traveled the length and breadth of Europe, even going to the Holy Land, where, as commander of a crusade, he negotiated a treaty with Sultan Al-Kamil of Egypt, nephew of the great Saladin. See how these books are connected? Not all, but many. Both respected and reviled, Frederick achieved great heights and faced grave disappointments. When Frederick died in December 1250, he was robed in the white habit of a Cistercian monk to demonstrate his connection to personal, political, and religious worlds. Yeah, this looks so good. That's about 400, it's over 400 pages long, but it's beautifully bound pages, or the pagination is fantastic. Yeah, and he's dedicated it to John Julius Norwich, who gave me my first encouragement as a roaming recorder of the pageant of history, its backstage gossip, its legends, and its settings. Yes. Oh, tell me which book you like the most, or it doesn't have to be one. Tell me which books really jumped out at you in this video, and what you're reading for Q2, what you think you're going to take on. So, yeah, and the foreword by John Julius Norwich looks fantastic. The book that you hold in your hands is the biography of a giant who bestrode late medieval Europe and who is infinitely more deserving of the title Frederick the Great than that pipsqueak king of Prussia on whom it was so unaccountably conferred. Oh, that's fantastic. That's from John Julius Norwich. So this rounds out my very large and heavy pile of possibilities. I just wanted to pull out all the stops, guys, and just show you some of the books I have in my collection that cover this range, 500 to 1500, and some that kind of take a different approach. It's just it's different. Medieval studies, religion studies, it's kind of different. Yeah. Okay, so we're at 48 minutes. I thought I was going so well, and then I just kind of went off on a couple tangents and I went long, so I apologize about that. Let me go ahead and get this loaded so you guys can take a look. I've got a lot more videos to make, guys. I thought I would have made more, but I've been busy writing. But I got a nice little reprieve for about a week. So I plan on making more videos this week. So stay tuned. We got a lot coming here at the History Shelf. So, of course, like and subscribe. At some point, I'm going to have a new desk here, and it's going to be really cool. But let me know what you think of my chair. My Tony Montana chair. I'm kidding. Yeah, but it's pretty cool. I like having the headrest, and I like having the recline, because I spend a lot of time at this desk. So, okay, guys, until next time, thanks for coming by. Thanks for visiting the History Shelf. I couldn't do this without you, and I wouldn't want to. So anyway, we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye.